On the day of our 5th mate bond anniversary, Damon brought his ex-girlfriend home and had me cook for the two of them while 7 months pregnant.
Leela, prepare dinner.
Pip. After dinner, her chihuahua leaped down from the 2nd floor and slammed into my belly.
Pip is going into labor! Damon!
Damon scooped up the chihuahua and started to walk away.
Wait, I'm also going into labor.
Drop the act. Your due date is still over a month away. Leela, competing with a dog for attention like this really disgusts me.
He carefully cradled the chihuahua and walked off with so much as a backward glance. By the time someone found me and got me to the clinic, I lay in that hospital bed for 3 days and finally spoke the words I had never dared to say. Alpha Damon, sever the mate bond, right now.
Leela, are you done yet? It was just a little fall. What could possibly happen? You're my Luna, don't be so petty. And handing the Storm Rain pack over to you is even more ridiculous. You're just a housewife. Do you even know how to run a pack?
I said nothing.
I know I've been neglecting you these past few days. But Pip just gave birth and is still weak, and Celine can't manage everything alone.
Hearing that, bitterness surged through my chest. Selenia was Damon's ex-girlfriend, but the Storm Rain pack had a rule that an alpha must be bonded with his fated mate, otherwise he could never wield the full extent of his alpha power. So once it was confirmed that I was his fated mate, Damon had broken up with Selenia. He'd told me the moon goddess had guided him to me, that I was everything to him. I'd believed him, willingly becoming the woman standing behind him, helping him build up the Storm Rain pack. But I finally realized I meant even less to him than Celia's pet. Damon.
Enough. I need to go change Pip's puppy pad. That's it for now. We'll talk later.
He cut the link before I could even respond. I sat there with my mouth open, every word I wanted to say jammed in my throat. I don't know how long I sat there stunned. Then I picked up my phone and saw that Celine had just posted something new on Instagram. My eyes stung sharply, my heart aching so much I could barely breathe. All because of a chihuahua, I had lost my pup forever. My eyes stung sharply, my heart aching so much I could barely breathe. All because of a chihuahua, I had lost my pup forever.
Sever the bond! He has no idea what he's losing!
A few seconds later, I saw Damon's comment underneath. Before I could respond to my wolf, the doctor walked in. She looked at me and let out a sympathetic sigh. Luna, just surviving this time is already fortunate. There will be more pups in the future, please don't be too sad. Why hasn't the alpha come yet? Does he still not know about this? I lowered my head with a bitter smile. While my pup and I were in the most danger, he'd been busy tending to his ex's chihuahua giving birth. He's busy. The doctor paused, then looked at me apologetically. I'm sorry, please don't be too upset. A pup means more to an alpha than anything else. He'll surely rush over the moment he's done. More than anything else? Perhaps. But whenever anything was weighed against Galeen, she always came out on top. I said nothing more, only asked the doctor not to notify Alpha Damon for the time being. She agreed. An hour later, a message came through on my phone from Selena. It was a photo of Damon holding Pip, asleep beside her, his expression peaceful, a faint smile still lingering on his lips. There was no text at all besides the photo, but it was already enough. I closed my eyes, refusing to let the tears fall. Outside the window, the moonlight was bright. The moon goddess seemed unaware that one of her children had just lost a pup. Or perhaps she had seen it and simply did nothing. Over the following days, I lay in the hospital recovering. The doctor said I had suffered severe hemorrhaging and had nearly died on the operating table. Even with alpha blood, a pregnant werewolf was no different from a human, who's fragile and vulnerable. After the miscarriage, during that entire time, Damon never once contacted me, until the morning of the 7th day, when he finally showed up.
Why didn't you tell me you were hospitalized? Do you even think of me as your mate anymore? If someone hadn't told me they saw you at the hospital, I wouldn't have known at all.
I looked at him, my gaze cold as frost. A flicker of guilt passed through his eyes.
Why are you looking at me like that? It's not like I'm the one who put you in the hospital. If anything, you're the one who didn't tell me about something as huge as giving birth. I'm the pup's father. I needed to be by its side when it was born.
What he said was I needed to be there when it was born, not, are you all right? He never once asked how I was.
If you told me you were actually delivering the pup, no matter how busy I was, I would have—
I know. I understand you were busy, okay? Damon had clearly had a whole speech ready to give, but now he couldn't get another word out.
I was just worried about you. Why are you acting like this?
I gave him a light, indifferent glance. That dismissive tone was one he'd taught me himself. Why couldn't stand it when it was turned on him?
Is there a problem?
My cold attitude choked him up, and a rush of words got trapped in his throat, unable to come out. The tension held for a moment, and then his attitude suddenly softened.
Forget it. I won't hold this against you. Where's my pup? Is it a boy or a girl? What's going on? Where did you hide my pup?
I said nothing. That just fueled his anger.
Leela, that's my pup. You have no right to hide it. Hand it over now!
As he spoke, his alpha pressure came crashing down without warning. It was the kind of instinctive, undeniable dominance an alpha exerted over pack members within his territory. My breath caught for an instant, my chest tightened, and a dull throb spread through my surgical wound. Just then, the door was pushed open.
Alpha, your Luna only just had emergency surgery for severe hemorrhaging days ago. Her stitches haven't even been removed yet. What you're doing right now could hurt her.
Damon turned to look at her. Under that glance, the doctor clearly flinched. But she didn't back down.
I'm her attending physician, and I need you to let go of her. Now.
The alpha pressure still hung in the air, like a blade that hadn't yet fallen. Damon stared at her for a few seconds, then released his hold.
Leela, I know I've been neglecting you lately. That's on me. Once you're discharged and home, I'll make it up to you properly. Tell me, where's my pup? Why can't I smell its scent at all?
Do you want to know why?
Because it's dead.
Leela, how could you curse our pup like that?
Damon, Pip started foaming at the mouth. What do I do? I'm scared. Is something wrong with her?
The moment he heard that, he abandoned everything else, shifted into his wolf form, and bolted out the door without sparing me so much as a glance, only tossing one rosage behind him.
Take care of the pup for now. Something came up with Celine. I'll come back for you both once I've handled it.
The hospital room fell back into quiet, and the doctor gave me a sympathetic look. But Damon was the alpha, and there was only so much the doctor could do for me. A short while later, a nurse came to tell me I needed to go handle the pup's death certificate. Such a small life had passed, without even any ashes left behind. The moment it was in my hands, the tears I'd been holding back for so long come pouring out.
My sweet pup.
The next day, despite the doctor urging me to stay, I insisted on checking myself out of the hospital. When I got home, the house looked exactly as it had when I'd left. The dishes were still soaking in the sink, his jacket still tossed carelessly over the sofa. It was obvious no one had come back to stay here at all. But I had no interest in wondering where Damon had been staying these past few days. It no longer mattered to me. There were more important things waiting to be done now. Back when Damon and I first bonded as mates, I had woven part of my inner wolf's energy into the Storm Rain Pack's territory. The roots of every tree, the course of every stream, the stability of every boundary stone. I had believed it was our shared territory and had buried my own strength into it. But now, I made my way to the core of the Storm Rain Pack's territory, and before I could even speak, that portion of energy returned to me on its own, like a seed buried for a very long time, recognizing its home beneath the moonlight. And what's more, I could feel that I was stronger than before, even stronger than Damon. Perhaps all this time I'd spent protecting the Storm Rain Pack, that portion of my power had been nourished and kind. I didn't linger any longer and turned to leave. Once I got home, I began packing my things. I was halfway through packing when Damon came home. Seeing the house turned upside down, he frowned.
What are you doing? Are you doing a spring cleaning or something?
I looked up and saw Celine standing in the doorway, several suitcases at her feet. I didn't answer him. Something flickered in my eyes. He ignored my reaction and pointed toward the bedroom.
Perfect timing. Clear out the master bedroom for Sir Celine to stay in. The bed in the guest room was too firm. She's not used to it.
Seeing that I hadn't moved, he seemed to remembered something and offered an explanation.
Celine's pack house started renovations today, so she's staying with us for a few days. Don't mind it. She won't bother you at all.
I kept right on with what I was doing, not willing to spare him even a glance. I didn't want him anymore, so why would I care about a room? Damon, is Lila upset that I'm staying here? Maybe I should just go stay at inn instead. I don't want to be the reason you two fight. Every little pout and smile of hers was easily enough to stir up a man's protective instincts. Sure enough, the moment Damon heard that, he grew immediately displeased.
So what if she's upset? Don't forget, I'm the one who run this pack. You stay as long as you like. Don't worry, leaves, it'll be her. If she can't tolerate you being here, she can move out himself.
All right, then. I'll help take care of the little pup, too. So where is it? Can I hold it? A faint uneasiness began stirring in him now, and there was a growing anxiety in the way he looked at me. Your pup? It's right there. Can't you see it?
What are you talking about? There's nothing here except the three of our scents. Where would a pup even be?
Staring at that thin sheet of paper, Damon's leg suddenly went weak for some reason.
What is this? I told you, stop with the pranks!
The corner of my mouth curved up, an expression that could have been grief or amusement, impossible to tell. This is the pup you're looking for. She's returned to the moon goddess embrace. Now all that's left of it is a piece of paper. His wolf eyes narrowing into slits and pinned me against the wall.
What are you saying? What do you mean return to the moon goddess's embrace? I heard its heartbeat just last time. How could there be nothing left but a piece of paper?
Disbelief was written plainly across his face, but I noticed his hands were trembling slightly. I swept the bag off the cabinet beside us. The medical reports and prenatal checkup records inside scattered across the floor. It's not just one piece of paper, Alpha. All of these are proof that it existed. He stared at the checkup records scattered across the floor, his pupils contracting sharply.
That's impossible! I don't believe it! You must be lying to me! You must still be angry at me. That's why you're making up a lie like this to trick me! Leela, how dare you!
In the name of the Alpha of the Storm Rain Pack, I command you, hand over my pup to me right now.
His alpha pressure crashed down like a collapsing wall, the air growing so heavy my lungs tightened. I looked at him coldly. There was no way he didn't know I'd never once lied to him. Damon. No mother in the world would ever make a prank out of her own pup. In an instant, Damon's face turned deathly pale. Celine, standing nearby, carefully tugged at the edge of his sleeve.
Damon, don't be like this. You're scaring me.
Don't touch me!
Caught off guard, Celine was knocked down to the ground, completely stunned.
Damon, you jerk!
Once she came to her senses, she spit out a curse, covered her face, and ran out crying.
Damon paid her no attention. 10 minutes later, once he'd gradually calmed down, he finally picked up the crumpled, ruined death certificate. The longer he looked at it, the paler his face grew, till finally he let out an agonized cry.
How could this have happened? It was the heir I'd been waiting for. Why didn't you tell me sooner that the pup was gone? As its father, don't I even have the right to know?
Faced with his questioning, I said nothing. Of course he had no right to be that pup's father, not the slightest right at all. He hadn't expected me to answer anyway, and kept talking on his own.
I thought you were lying to me before. I truly had no idea it would turn out like this. If I'd known something would happen, there's no way I would have gone to Celine's side. I'm sorry, this is all my fault. If it weren't for me...
He couldn't finish the sentence, his eyes reddening, his face full of guilt. If this had happened before, I might have softened and forgiven him. But not now. Not anymore. The moment I looked at him, I would think of my poor pup, a shadow that would haunt me forever. I think this was also its final reminder to me. Leave Damon. I looked at him seriously, speaking to him this calmly for the first time in a long while. Damon, let's sever the mate hunt. Let's release each other. I had tried to get past that barrier between us, and I couldn't. The one he loved most had always been Celia, never me. Damon froze for a long moment, his expression shifting from blank to panicked.
No, I don't agree!
He stood up and reached out to grab hold of me.
Leela, don't do this. We can have another pup later, But severing the mate bond isn't something to decide on a whim. I already know I was wrong. Isn't it enough that I'll change? From now on, you're the only one in my heart. I won't leave your side again.
He wasn't afraid of me leaving him at all. He was only of losing his mate, owner in the moon goddess recognition, and wield the strongest alpha power. The moment our mate Deceb was severed, his power would weaken drastically. The Storm Rain pack would also swallow the king of then attained his masking, and I insisted and firm me. If you refused, the silence wouldn't be easy. Realizing that I was serious, he completely panicked.
No, Leela, I don't agree. I still love you. Why can't you give me one more chance? I truly know I was wrong.
Is that so? Then tell me, where exactly did you go wrong? Was Damari de so gongwan she's tried to give any real answer?
His mind, he'd simply been didn't know what Dick Flint did, and it just so happened. Unfortunately, he didn't that I'd know had gone into labor.
I knew this was how he tears the inner of my mouth couldn't help curling into a mocking smile. Enough, stop with the fake apologies. There's only ever been Selenia in your heart. Damon froze, and only then noticed that Selenia was gone. His expression changed instantly, and I could tell he wanted to chase after her. Just then, his phone rang. It was Selenia awkwardly. He glanced at me somewhat right away, letting the phone keep ringing instead. I knew exactly what he was hoping for. Answer. Maybe she has some emergency.
Damon, I'm surrounded by a group of rogues. Can you come save me?
The moment he heard that, he forgot about everything else entirely. So panicked, he forgot I was even standing right there.
Protect yourself! I'm coming to you right now!
He hung up the phone in a hurry, and only remembered me right before walking out the door. He turned back awkwardly and gave me a small smile.
Leela, lean to just life isn't either. You wouldn't about us when you get
no trusted to waste rise in any more words. Funny, nothing but...
I, Leela Grace, in the name of the moon goddess, reject you, Damon Lockfield, as my mate.
Leela, do you really have to do this? I told you, Celine and I are just friends. Can't friends even help each other out? And I broke up with her for you. I already owe her for that. Or is it that because you don't have any friends yourself, you won't let me have any either? No wonder even your own mother didn't want you! Leela, do you really have to do this? I told you and I are just friends, and friends even help each other out, and I broke up with her for you. Won't let me marry thee. No wonder even your own mother didn't want...
I could no longer hear anything he said after that. Being abandoned by my mother as a child was the deepest pain and I get carried. Someone said in Runoff Alpha, and then my mother had abandoned Pack, my uncle his own family, and they didn't treat me too badly. It was only later, once he wanted his own child with a Silver Moon Pack, that he sent me off to a school far away. But standing right outside the door, I overheard my uncle and aunt talking. I stood at the door and didn't cry. I simply turned around and went back to school, as though I'd never come back at all. Later on, I met Damon. No matter how far he went in following the line with me, I felt more and more like a fool, someone who'd been played over without even realizing it. I took a deep breath, held back the surging tears, and steadied myself. Accept my rejection, Damon, or you're not leaving this room.
Can't it just be one last time? I promise I won't get involved with her again after this, but this time I really can't wait.
This exact scene had played out too many times before. Every single time, he promised it would be the last, and every time I was fool enough to believe him, and then it would happen again, followed by fighting, promises, compromise, over and over in an endless... They never got tired of it, I certainly had.
There is no last time. Make your choice.
Why? You never used to be like this.
Is that so? Well, I'm no longer the fool you used to know.
He fell silent once, and it wasn't until Celine's next distress call came through that he finally made up his mind. Fine, Leela, I accept your rejection.
The moment the words left his mouth, the force began tearing at my inner wolf, a searing pain radiating outward from deep within my bones. Damon was the same, cold sweat covering his face from the pain, but neither of us made a sound. We simply stared at each other coldly until the force faded away, until the bond between us was finally gone.
Lila, are you satisfied now? Once I was finished,
Of course.
I headed to the pack register, but the clerk there told me they needed confirmation that I had
With
truly
him gone,
severed the mate bond
I
with
went
the
back
Alpha
to
before they could
packing.
revoke my status as the Storm Rain Pack's
Once I
Luna.
was
Miss, we
finished,
need the
I
Alpha's
headed to the
confirmation.
pack registry
With no other
office.
option, I had to call Damon.
However, the one who picked up was Selena.
What, have you even figured it out by now? Damon loves me, not you. Leave on your own if you know what's good for you. Don't make this uglier than it already
I
is.
stayed quiet, and she just kept running her mouth.
I'll tell you the truth. I'm pregnant with Damon's pup. Now that your pup is gone, there's still that I shouldn't need to spell it further. Face it, you, his so-called, compared to me, his ex. So stop clinging to him, okay, you bitch.
Back when Damon and Celine had broken up, Celine had left the Storm Rain Pack to study elsewhere. Word was she'd also quickly found herself a new boyfriend. What I couldn't understand was how the two of them had ended up together again. I'd clearly heard that Celine's next boyfriend had been far more accomplished than Damon. Hearing my question, she paused for a moment, then burst out loud concerned. But there's something else you'll be very interested to know. Do you want to know why I chose to go back to Damon? Because without waiting for my answer, she discovered that I used to be the Luna of the Silver Moon Pack, and she had another daughter, and that daughter's name is Lila. Let me tell you another secret. Back then, it was actually me who suggested to Damon that we break up so he could marry you. I told him if he wanted to be with me in the future, he needed to marry you and make you suffer. He agreed without a moment's hesitation, right?
These revelations finally set a thread holding together my mind, and I couldn't help but roar with rage.
In everyone's eyes, I was nothing but a burden. My mother had told other males that she'd never had a child. My fated mate had only agreed to marry me in order to win the girl he actually loved. I suddenly felt so excited.
A voice broke through the tense standoff between us. Damon had arrived. Celine, who are you on the phone with? Cecina showed not the slightest hint of embarrassment at being caught, calmly hanging up the phone before answering.
It's nothing, just a spam call. I was bored, so I chatted with him for a bit.
Well, if that was how it was, then they couldn't blame me for what came next. I was gonna take revenge. I immediately called Damon again, and this time he picked up. I told him to inform the registry clerk that we had already severed the mate bond.
I'm sorry, Leela. Thank you for putting up with everything all these years. I wish you happiness. Just consider it as if you'd never known me at all.
I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked every single one of his contact methods. Once that was done, I quietly went to Celine's house. It wasn't far from Damon's, just 3 blocks away. But in all these years, I had never once ran into my mother. Perhaps she had always been avoiding me. Looking at Celine's white 3-story mansion, I couldn't help but close my eyes for a moment. So this whole time, she had lived this close to me. And never once, none of that was true. She simply wanted me. Built a new family and had a new child. I suddenly felt so many years. Just then, the front door of Selenios opened and I stepped back, retreating into the shadow of a maple tree. And then I saw my mother, just as beautiful as she was in the photos my father's long of Selena Tubb belonged to me.
Mom, I'm your only daughter, right?
Yes, Celine, you are my only daughter.
I saw Celine glance in my direction, and then walk inside together with our mother. The door closed. I couldn't help but clench my fists. To hell with family, to deal with love. I no longer needed any of it. I would make them all pay. Half a month later, Sumder Elder Jadil Celine. He told me Damon's power pack constormity stoins a result ready to be landjokes in the brain.
Leela.
Before you doing here.
You regret it, don't you? It's too bad. You can't find a male about you with Celine. You've missed your chance.
Enjoying the feeling of being abandoned? Trash stays trash. Doesn't matter where you go, you're still unwanted.
Once I'm holding air sleep, I decreased my alpha pressure. All of it. Celine's knees being dropped straight to the ground. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out, cold sweat dripping down along her chin.
Leela, Damon's expression changed. His alpha pressure crashed against mine, but it couldn't suppress me in the slightest. When his pressure struck mine, it was like a hand pushing against a wall.
Leela,
no tremor,
power.
No crack.
How is that possible?
His face went pale. He was half a head taller than me, but in that moment, he seemed shorter. I didn't answer. My alpha pressure kept seeping outward, and the people around us had already stepped back several peters. Oh there, Selena was growing worse, and Damon began to panic.
Lila, pull back your power, or you won't have a peaceful moment either.
Is that so?
Damon's knees bent, and he sank down to kneel before me. His face went red with humiliation, his eyes blazing with shame.
The two of you as mates again, the Storm Rain pack will surely...
The elder beside him suddenly lit up with excitement. I'm sorry, but I don't take back trash. I turned to look at Damon. He opened his mouth as if about to say something, but before he could get a wolf pressure bore down on him again, a thin line of blood immediately seeped from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes shifting from a second glance to space and turned to walk away. After this, everyone in the Storm Rain pack knew that there was no longer any possibility between Damon and me. I hadn't expected, however, that 3 days later, Damon would stop me on the roadside. As it turned out, Selena had abandoned him. Selena had decided that since he couldn't even beat me now, she immediately went and found a new boyfriend, an alpha even more powerful than him. I didn't answer. I just kicked him away without another word. Unable to beat me, he could only watch as I walked away, his face livy. I didn't sit upwards in the days that followed. Celine's new boy, a much higher rung. She smiled, like someone who had finally won.
On the day of the mating ceremony held at the Moon Goddess altar of the Grey Ridge Pack, Kyle slid the silver binding ring engraved with the Grey Ridge wolf piece onto Celine's finger. She smiled, like someone who had finally won.
Next, we have a tribute video prepared by friends and family for our new Luna. Let's applaud for the newlyweds.
On the screen played footage of Celine with various different males, one of the clips featuring Damon.
By the moon goddess, just how many males has Celine been with?
Well, it's clear she's had plenty of practice. No wonder she's so confident. Alpha Kyle should be grateful he found out before it was too late.
The entire venue erupted.
No, that's not me. This is fake.
That's right, my daughter would never be such a promiscuous
This is fake.
woman.
Someone's trying to frame me.
This video is fake.
Today's ceremony is cancelled. But whether it was real or fake, the Grey Ridge Pack's dignity and identity will not accept a
No, you have to believe me. Someone is trying to destroy me. Please, just give me some time.
No need to investigate. You know exactly what kind of person you are.
Then he turned back to face the guests. I hereby declare the mating ceremony with Celine Ashford cancelled.
The Slila's venue stings for a grounding her verdict. Her mother tried to pull at Kyle, but was blocked by the wolves of the Grey Ridge Pack.
The ceremony dispersed. The Grey Ridge Pack members cleared out quickly. Those left behind to clean up the venue wore no particular expression, but their silence already said everything. Celine's family would never receive the Grey Ridge Pack's protection again. I didn't go looking for what happened next, but news has a way of finding me anyway. Without the Grey Ridge Pack's protection, Damon unleashed a furious campaign of revenge against Celine's entire family. He exercised his alpha authority and drove Celine's whole family out of the pack. They went from wealthy elites to pathetic rogues. The day Celine's family left the pack in tears, Damon stood at the pack's entrance and watched her with an umbrella. But that wasn't the end. Before leaving, he disowned Dorn Wolf to leaving weaker than fighting even ordinary Omega. His mind broken as well. He spent his days wandering the streets, fighting stray dogs over scraps of food. The next day, I ignored the doctor's advice and insisted on being discharged. Advice never use her own pup as a subpraint. Second, I confiscated the white 3-story villa where Selenia's family used to live, repurposing it into a public healing center for the pack. Third, I had my people retrieve Damon from the streets. He was curled up under a dead tree at the pack border, making it impossible to tell if the gray layer on him was fur or dirt. When I approached, he lifted his head. His eyes were clouded and flinched, a trace of food residue tinked him back another half-inch against the tree roots. The former alpha of the Storm Rain pack was now afraid of a mere stray dog. I crouched down, meeting his eyes on the same level. Do you recognize me?
Pip? Are you here to feed Pip?
I stood up, turned around and walked away. The elders asked me why I did not just kill him directly. I replied that letting him live was the greatest punishment of all. The things Damon cared about most in his entire life were power and status. Now that he had lost both, every single day he managed to scrape by was paying off his debt to me. What truly occupied my mind was something else entirely. After that white 3-story villa and has just submitted its first severely injured werewolf, it was standing behind the Nobitan counter checking the medical inventory when I caught a figure standing at the door out of the corner of left behind. Only those eyes held calculation, ditches of panic I could not quite decipher. She saw me too. The air fell silent for a moment before she turned to leave. Stop right there. She froze at the door, her back stiff and straight. I stepped out from behind the counter and walked right up to her, facing the woman who had abandoned me back then and remained absent for my entire life on equal for the very first time.
Celine's mother.
She did not deny it, nor did she look at me. She merely stared at the cracks between the floor tiles.
What are you looking for? I heard a healing center opened here. I used to work as a nurse in another pack.
I laughed. She actually wanted to work for me. Who did she think she was? Did she think I needed her the way I might need anything else?
Leave.
I had someone look into it later. She came looking for a job because after Celine's family was banished from the Grey Ridge pack, her stepfather's business took a massive dive. With no one left to rely on, she could only depend on herself. She had tried to contact Celine, but Celine had wandered off to some unknown border and completely lost touch. After listening to the report, I tossed the paper into the fireplace and watched it burn to ashes. My mother, my half-sister, and my former alpha mate were like 3 iron weights that had crushed me for half my life. Once those burdens were finally lifted, I realized I had been carrying far more than I needed to.
Month,
Without
Hale
them,
sent
I
someone
felt
to
so
deliver
light
a letter.
that even a gust of wind could carry me away. The heir of the Grey Ridge pack, the very alpha who had publicly called off our mating ceremony in front of the moon goddess altar. There was land in the boar's hides and in territories of Ponch for the storm drain and werewolf weapons. It was rich in a type of ores that clashed over this river valley countless times. When Damon was in charge, an equal 50-50 effused to yield management. I wrote back a letter, a 60-40 split, with 60 for the Storm Rain pack and 40 for the Grey Ridge pack. However, the Storm Rain pack would handle all security throughout the process, meaning the Grey Ridge pack would not have to deploy a single soldier. 3 days later, Kale personally visited the Storm Rain pack. The moment he sat down in the council hall, his very first words were, "You are much harder to deal with than Damon. That is exactly why you are willing to come and negotiate." He drank it, and the agreement was signed. From then on, peace reigned over the river valley. The way the elders looked at me changed. Initially, they had me return simply because Damon had fallen and Stormbrain needed an alpha to take charge. I was the only person capable of holding the fort at the time. But as 2 months passed, they realized I was capable of much more than just holding the fort. I started sorting out the messy accounts Damon had left behind. During the years he spent waging wars everywhere to expand his territory, the debts he racked up involved not just human lives, but also finances. I spent an entire week auditing all the cash flow he had handled and uncovered a staggle against Stormrain. I stayed up for 5 consecutive nights in the archives, clearing up the account's entry deficit. Then I personally led my people and resources to visit them one by one, paying off the debts in full. When I showed up at their doors, I denied a Briggle guard. I only brought 2 chests of silver coins and a chest of ore samples, opening them up and completing the transaction right in front of them.
You are someone who gets things done. If your mate had even half your capability back then, Stormrain would never have ended up in this state today.
He is no longer my mate. I am the alpha of Stormrain. From then on, the turbulent undercurrents surrounding the Stormrain pack gradually subsided. Those minor factions that had previously Damon's weakness and tried to take advantage of the crisis shrunk back one by one. One evening a month later, while patrolling the pack borders, I saw Damon again. He was squatting by the roadside, poking at insects on the ground with a twig. The setting sun stretched his shadow out long, revealing that he was so thin he was nothing but skin and bones. I walked past him, but he did not look up.
Be a good boy, Pip. Do not run up.
Early the next morning, I ordered the construction of a shelter on the western side of the pack, specifically meant to take in werewolves who were mentally impaired and homeless. Damon was the very first person to move in. The elders asked if I still harbored lingering feelings for Damon. I told them it was not about lingering feelings. The Stormrain pack is allowed to hate its enemies, but we cannot leave the weak to die. He is weak, and that is all there is to it. On the day the shelter was completed, eyes that were still clouded, but the drool at the corner of his mouth had been wiped clean, and he was dressed in fresh clothes. He did not recognize me. That was for the best. As I turned to leave, the wind blew over from the river valley, carrying the scent of moor and the smell of earth. In the distance, a group of membered a long time as altars chasing and see the mate bobbed on the training ground. He laughed like then of a spawn a ringer. Now I knew that it was merely the wind. The wind itself holds no meaning. What truly matters is where you go as you face it. I walked toward the main hall. There was another meeting to hold tonight. Kale's people were coming up 12 conditions and needed to devise them one by one. I was no longer that Leela who'd housing on the hospital 300 pack members standing. I pushed open the doors to the main hall and stepped into the brightly lit council chamber. As for Damon's ending, he had finally become the very thing he despised the most back then, a weakling who needed the charity of others just to survive. I would not kill him, I did not hate him, and I certainly did not love him anymore. He was just a stretch of road in my past. Now that I had walked past it, there was no need to look back. As for the woman who was supposed to be my mother and the sister named Celine, they were no different. The wind would blow them in their respective directions while I would keep moving forward. This was the greatest arrangement the moon goddess could have given me, allowing me to piece my broken self back together with own hands until I became someone no one could ever knock down. The moon over Stormrain had risen.